All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Radio Northern Beaches 88.7 and 90.3 FM. You're listening to the Hummingbird Talks. We happen every Wednesday at 11 a.m. My name's Melissa, and with the Hummingbird Talks, we aim to educate and inspire the everyday person about spirituality, health, and wellness. We have different guests on each week speaking about a range of topics designed to inspire and facilitate a direction towards wholeness, happiness, and self-awareness on this journey we're calling life at the moment. So my beautiful guest today is Stine. And Stine, how's your life going at the moment?
Yeah, good. It's a bit quiet, but it's good.
Yeah, good. That's what we like to hear. We like to hear people are doing well. But Stine is a local photographer in the Northern Beaches. She does portrait photography, and she's done photography for quite some years now. She has a studio in DY. But the reason why I've got Stine on is that she recently released a project that I was very lucky to be a part of. It was about becoming 30. So it was a project based on, I don't know how many women you had, but
I had initially, the idea was to do 30 women, to photograph 30 women and tell their story alongside their images.
Yeah.
And it ended up being, I think, about 25 because I had my son, so I had to stop.
Yeah.
So 25 women, and I had about 23 stories to share. So nothing really, it wasn't perfect, but I did as well as I could with what I had. So.
Yeah, perfect. Look, I believe in divine timing. Everything happens for a reason. And believe me, the project is amazing. So
Thank you.
I'm going to have Stine talk about the project because all these women were talking about their stories with mental health and wellness and sharing their struggles. If I can call it struggles, but sharing their
I guess there are trials and tribulations during the 30s, that decade. So I guess it was all about bringing awareness to the sort of the transformation or transition, whatever you want to call it, that women can go through in that area of life, because it's quite significant. So
yeah, it's definitely, well, I didn't realize how big of a transition it was, and it was definitely another big transition that I was going through.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have Stine talk about the project, and we're also going to be talking about mental health now as a mum as well. So Stine, I'm going to hand it over to you. Share your story. Share how you got to this point.
Okay, well, I'll try and keep it as short as possible.
Take your time.
So I guess I'm just going to start with the idea behind the project, because that's kind of like where I was, what kind of headspace I was in. So I was 39, it was 2017, and I just came back from a big portrait conference in Palm Springs, California.
Nice.
Which basically inspired me to do something a bit more, something a bit more with purpose, something a bit bigger than myself with my business, with photography. And I was 39, and I just kind of realized, I was trying to come up. I was at 39 to when I was 30.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was like, I couldn't recognize myself because of a few different things. And I was like, wow, that's quite amazing. Not everyone talks about getting older and how wise you become and all this stuff. But this is like when you're 50 and 60, not when you're like 35 or 38 or whatever. And I was like, that's not really fair, because women go through so many things. Like, some people start businesses, they have families, they lose parents, they go through cancer, like all these massive things, and they're quite young. We're young, still in their 30s. Do you know what I mean? So that's a lot to deal with. So I thought, why don't I make a project that talks about this and that highlights the struggles, like you said, and the wins as well, the good things as well in women's life when they go through their 30s. So I started in, I think it was late October or late November 2017. And what I didn't know was that I was 5 weeks pregnant.
So Oh, lucky surprise.
So I was like, yeah, let's do this massive project. It's going to go for 6 months. And then I found out I was pregnant. And I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Because I just committed. I just signed up like 35 women to shoot, and I had booked all the shoots. I didn't even have anywhere to shoot.
Yeah.
Because I was moving in with my then partner, so I was losing my home studio, and it was just like all these things in the air at once, and I was like, what is going on? So I was like, okay, so I was just trying to juggle all this. So I moved house. I got into a new studio with another photographer, thank God, or rented her studio, and I started shooting. And then I also quit my then job. I had a job as well, so I quit that. And then I just started shooting full time, and I was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So I just kind of let it unfold, and I just kind of trusted the process, and I just like jumped in with both feet, because that's what I do. That's the kind of person I am. Yeah. And then suddenly I had to stop shooting because I was getting bigger and my back and legs were killing me. So I had to stop prematurely, and I had a break for about a month, and I was like, no, I'm going to try and finish it before this baby comes. I was like 8 months pregnant. I was 100 kilos. I was massive, the biggest belly. And I was like, no, I'm going to finish it. And I went for a walk one day, and I could only walk like 50 meters. I was like, how am I going to shoot anyone? I can't get up and down from the floor. It's just not going to happen. So I had to cancel the last 5 women. And it was like, oh my God, I couldn't do anything about it. So I just had to cancel it. And it's like, that's okay. Once my baby comes, I'm going to have 2 months off, and then I'm going to start again. I'm just going to get right back into it, right back into my business. No problem. Baby can just sit on the floor quietly.
Yeah.
And I'll just do my work. Baby comes, and it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
Because I had no idea how hard it was to have a baby. And a lot of things happened that I had to deal with. And so a couple of months ago, I was like, look, okay, this has been 2 years now since I've shot all these women. I think I need to finish this project now. I think I'm ready. And I did. And then I put it all together in a beautiful magazine. I contacted you all again to say, hi, this is really happening. I haven't forgotten about you. It's just been really busy. And here we are. So I finished it, and I'm so happy with it, and I'm so happy that I get to share it with everyone.
Yeah. No, it was like when I received the finished product, it absolutely blew me away, because it was just amazing to see. Sorry, I'm just going to talk about myself, but it was amazing to see myself, myself in that light, and then see, the story and the photos come together. But when I was sharing it, it's like giving these girls, like the next generation of turning 30, an insight to, hey, turning 30 is it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. It's just like another blimp on the radar kind of thing. But
pretty much,
so if I can ask you, when you were turning 30, because you started this project at 39, and you were saying that already at 39 you had been through so much, or there's a lot of women that had been through so much.
And
what was it like for you to what was it like for you to turn 30 and in the rest of your 30s as well?
Oh, there you are. Okay. So I turned 30 without any major events happening, just trotting along like I was. And then I had a very bad breakup when I was around, I think I was 31.
Yeah.
And something major happened. I basically had a mental breakdown, a nervous breakdown, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And it was like, what is going on? Because I've only known this guy for like 3 or 4 months. It was nothing serious. And I'm like feeling like I'm dying. Okay, something is, I can't go to, like I couldn't go to work. I couldn't put sentences together, words together to actually make any sense. It's like my brain did not work. Like something had happened. I was diagnosed with depression and a bit of anxiety, and I got some drugs, and I was like, I don't know. Doesn't feel like, yes, I was depressed, but it felt like something more. And for a few years, I was struggling badly there. I was struggling to hold down a job. My boss was amazing. She was actually helping me through this. But I was struggling with life in general. I couldn't even, being social was like I am an introvert by nature, but I'm an extroverted introvert. Like I like being with people. And I couldn't go out. I couldn't calling people. I was scared of the telephone. Like it was crazy.
Wow.
So I actually thought I was going a little bit crazy, and I was worried, and my mum was worried, and she came out and she stayed with me for 6 weeks because she knew something was wrong. I basically decided so I did this for a few years. I was like, it was a mess. I'm not going to go into detail, but my life was an absolute mess.
Yeah.
A few years later, this is all a bit of a blow for me, so bear with me, but a few years later, I can't give dates and stuff because I actually can't remember half of it. So
yeah.
But a few years later, I decided to move my whole life around. I didn't know it at the time that was what I was doing, but something inside of me told me to just like abrupt everything, just get rid of everything, just move house, like quit your job, like throw everything away, friendships, everything. Like
Wow.
It was crazy. So I moved like suburbs, like I moved from one side of the city to the other side of the city. So I was as far away from whatever the hell that was as possible. And it was like stupid because I was completely self-isolating myself from everything I knew. So that was like another thing on top. I thought I was doing good, but actually was making it worse. So it just like spiraled me further down into like despair. I became, quite ill mentally. I had a job, but I quit 2 jobs in a row. Then I got a job in retail and I actually held that down for quite a while. And I think it's because I didn't have to deal with a lot of people.
Yeah.
It was just this, I could just do my own thing every day. Like just go to work, go home, go to work, go home. Yeah. And eventually because I'd seen psychiatrists and psychologists and everyone was like, don't know what the hell's going on with you.
Yeah.
Drugs, and it just didn't work. So I stopped taking them.
Yeah.
I was like, something's not right with me. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. I'm not bipolar, not schizophrenic. Like it's nothing like that, but something is not right. And I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And then finally got to see this woman who was a specialist in trauma.
Yeah, okay.
And it turned out I was experiencing emotional trauma, so a form of PTSD.
Yeah.
From previous events in my life that I don't really have a lot of recollection of other than emotionally. Yeah. So that breakup years before triggered all that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So it was just, so I had to go through all that. It lasted for about, it was like almost 6 years before I saw her. So in that time, my head was like everywhere. It was really, really hard to like focus on things. And, I was doing the whole self-medicating and the alcohol and the bad relationships. And I think, that's all in the magazine as well. I did touch on that. So I finally saw her and I got some clarity. And it turned out somehow I'd already done a lot of self-healing.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I don't know how, but I tried to look after myself the best way I knew how. So I started exercising more. I started, I stopped. I was like a 30 a day smoker, like full on smoking and drinking. It was insane. Yeah. I quit. I've been smoke free for over 7 years now.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, so I don't drink anymore or anything like that either. So I quit all that, all within a space of like a year. And I ate better. I started learning about nutrition, and that's kind of how it all started to turn around. Yeah. Little by little, just gaining awareness. sort of connecting with myself again, like who are you as a person? Because I completely forgotten who I actually was. What do you like? I was like, oh, I actually really like photography. Oh, maybe you should pick up that camera you bought 4 years ago.
Yeah.
No, I just completely forgotten like how to be me. And and I'd let outside factors sort of control and determine who I was, or who I thought I should be, or I would how do you say, I didn't know how to be happy with myself. Like someone else had to make me happy, or something else had to make me happy. I couldn't just be happy sitting at home with a book, a nice cup of tea, and just having a great old time. Do you know what I mean? Like that was not a possibility. So I had to learn that. Again.
Yeah.
So I just started learning. I went on YouTube one day and I was like, look, I'm going to give this photography thing a go. Like I've taken photos since I was 12 years old, but I've forgotten somehow when I grew up that was actually what I really loved doing. So I became a fashion designer first.
Yeah.
And I was like, never felt right. So lost. And then I started getting back into photography, started taking photos of friends, couple of models. I started making new friends and I was like, I'm really loving this. This is great. Yeah. And suddenly 7 years later, I have my own business and I've just opened a studio and I'm here with you doing this. Do you know what I mean? So so that's kind of my story, more or less. And I had a baby, small little thing.
Put a baby in there. But Stine, for the interactions that we had together, like I didn't know that about your story. And
it's not something I go around telling everyone because, it's keep it light. Okay.
Well, that's the thing. But everything
it's quite heavy.
Yeah. Well, if I can say, like, the similar stuff of what you were experiencing, the bad breakup, letting external factors control what you like and what you don't like, seeing the psychologist, the psychiatrist, the medication, that's similar to my story. And I don't know how many other people out there have that similar story where they're doing the treatment.
Probably a lot.
They're doing the treatments and it's just not making sense. It's just not coming together. Like I came off the medication and I'm like, okay, so this is it. This is how I'm meant to feel. Like I felt nothing really. So it's interesting that you said that. And I love the fact that you're saying, like, I had to learn how to sit with a cup of tea at home and just be okay with that. So a lot of us are going, okay, well, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to have all this so that I can be happy. But that learning process, like how long did it take you to learn to realize that I need to make me happy? I need to be, internally happy for everything else to...
Look, I actually realized that pretty quickly. But that was kind of like a switch that kind of just went off, like, oh, okay, that's what I actually need to do. But how to do it was like a completely different story. But a big part of it, and that's so cliche, but like doing what you love is a major part of it, because it really brings you back to yourself and it connects you with your overused word, authentic self.
We've lost the meaning of that, but
it really but it really does. It's like, and for me, I was quite an artsy kid and teenager, and I loved painting and drawing, and I was taking photos of my friends and like supermarkets and cafes, and they were pretty bad photos, but I did it and I loved it. And I just kind of had to bring it back to that. And I was like, okay, so I'm doing the diet and the not diet, but a much healthier lifestyle, and because I knew that was the key to managing my depression, which I do live with, so it's not all over, but that's something I've learned to manage. So it's really about connecting back to like, what activities can I do where I completely lose track of time and the outside world. what is it that when I immerse myself in it, I just get lost and I just love the process.
Yeah.
And it's basically being creative. So it's not just photography, it's other things as well. It's designing, it's putting things together, it's like little plants, like,
Yeah.
watching things grow. It's basically, I guess, the process of creating things and watching things sort of take on their own life. I love that process. And the project is a massive part of that, because that took on its own life. I didn't even, it just kind of, people were so excited about it when they came to the studio, and we were like instantly friends. They just came out and they just like opened up and told me their story, and I'm like, can you put that into words so I can put it in the magazine? They're like, yeah, and they would just like talk for 3 hours, and then I get this much because that's all I asked for and that's all I can put in the magazine. And I was like, God, that's really, how am I going to translate that connection, that the relief people feel when they come in and being photographed and they are permitted to tell their story, in all honesty. And then I have this much magazine. I was like, oh, I got to do it differently. So next time I'm going to try and work out a slightly different format for it, because, there's so much more. There's so much more. So So that's basically it. Doing what you love, and it's a cliche, but it's actually true.
Yeah, it definitely is. And, that's someone speaking from experience. That's why it's so true for you. And it's true for me. Like when I feel like I've got purpose, that's when I feel like, hey, like you said, lose track of time. And I love that you said that, lose track of time. Do something that you love to the point where you lose track of time, kind of thing.
Yeah, oh, totally. Yeah, no, I 100% believe that.
Yeah.
And like I told you earlier, I was becoming a mom, and then everything stopped, and I was like, oh, I can't do photography anymore because it takes too much time and I don't have time right now, and what can I do? So I started all these other stupid online businesses, enrolled in university, and that's not who I am, that's not what I want to do. And so I stopped it all again, and it's like I always come back to photography. Whatever else I do, I'm like, no, it's down. Like I even took down my website once because I'm like, no, that's it. I'm done. I'm not ever doing photography again. I'm going to start selling my gear. Thank God I didn't.
No.
Because
don't.
Because I just realized that that's just, it's like a part of me now. Like I can't give it up, or giving it up. You can't just give up photography. You are a photographer. Like it's who you are. It's not just something that you do for a job. Like you are a photographer. So I had to keep telling myself that. It's like, that's it, mate. I'm sorry, but you're in it. That's it. It's just, so it's like, and that also took me a while to realize. I said it many times previously. Yeah, no, that is part of me. It's what I do. But it's kind of like, that's what I heard that people said, and that's so I said it too. But now I actually believe it now. There's no way back. So.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
It is that fight, and I think it's like you said, you completely forgot who you were during that time of like your struggles, or during your time of mental health challenges. You forgot who you were. And I think one thing I read in the magazines, and that was quite common with all the stories, was that we all had expectations. There was this expectation of society. Like even, got to talk about my story, but my story was that, I hit 29, I wasn't married, I didn't have kids, I didn't have the perfect job, I was so lost. I'd just gone through a bad breakup, grieving the loss of my dad, all of that. And it was 29, and that whole year I'm like, I was so depressed that whole year, because I'm like, I'm going to be 30 next year. And like there's still that expectation. So did you
why aren't you buying your first house? Where's your deposit? It's like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Did you find that with other women as well, that it was the expectation? that, hey,
Yes.
you should have it
Yes.
by now?
Yeah. Oh, I talked to so many of the girls or women. I like to call them girls, but
Yes.
my girls. But yeah, yeah, one in particular, I think Zoe, she owns a cafe. And
Yeah.
she's a very successful businesswoman and she's amazing. And she's super creative as well. And she's a lovely person. And I've photographed her a couple of times now, actually.
Yeah.
And her story stood out to me just because I've photographed her before this project as well. And we've talked before, and she's always been quite down about how she didn't have all the things that she should have. I think she's in her early 30s. So, but like, she's like, oh, I don't have a partner. I live with my parents. I don't have this and that. And I don't have a house, like all those things, or kids, or like, it wasn't even on the horizon for her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you've got a business. You've created this amazing thing from nothing.
Yeah.
You moved back to your parents' house so you could do this. You've made massive sacrifices, things like sacrifices that a lot of people don't even know what is. They think giving up a pair of shoes or not having a new dress for the party on Friday is a sacrifice.
Yeah.
No, this is sacrifice. Giving up your lifestyle and your own needs to create something outside of yourself that other people can enjoy. That is sacrifice, you know? And she's just, you know, I'm like, can you please realize how amazing you are? And when the time is right, all those other things will come. They're not important. It's important that you do what you want with your life, the way you want to do it. It's important for everyone, but she was just one, you know, that I tell everyone the same thing, but she just was one of the first. And I'm just like, just please realize how good you are doing, you know? You don't have to be like everyone else. Do your own thing, you know, and you are. That takes balls. It takes courage, you know, and I think that's worth something. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, it absolutely does. It does take courage. It does take balls. I love that word. And it does take that, you know, you said it so perfectly. And that's such a perfect example of someone going that next step to achieve something outside of themselves, to live out their purpose, to really say, okay, this is how I feel internally. Let's express it externally. So a lot of people out there at the moment are probably feeling like that. They're probably going, okay, you know, I know there's something bigger outside of myself, but I don't know what that is. So it's just, by your words, finding something that you love. So is that what you would recommend to someone going, hey,
I think everyone has that, I don't know what to call it, like an urge inside. They're like, they know there's something else they could be doing, or something more with what they're already doing, or but I think it's the courage to just kind of like trust the process, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to pan out. It could be a total failure, and that's okay. But it's just having the courage to tap into that urge and go with it, and just trust that it will just organically turn into something. Of course, you have to work at it, but you know, when people tend to do that, just slowly start dipping their toes and take steps, step by step, they end up a few years down the track with something absolutely amazing. And I see it again and again. A lot of my friends now, they just, you know, I see the development. Like one photographer in the US, actually, I've actually never met her, but I saw where she started a couple of years ago, and we connected, and she's amazing. And she started selling, like she did one of those MLM marketing things, like health shakes and stuff like that. And she did that with her then partner. And I was like, but you're also a photographer. What are you doing? Like, why are you starting this side thing when it's like you're an amazing branding photographer? And suddenly that health thing disappeared into nothing.
Nice.
And she just went full in on the branding. And she is like the queen of Instagram stories. She's the queen of social media. She's created online courses. Like, she's flying all over the world doing photography, and she's connecting with other small businesses, and she's just gone with it. She did go and get a mentor.
Yeah.
And because she knew, she had an urge. She knew, like, I could be doing something else. I don't know what it is, but I need someone to tell me. And she did it. And she's just like off.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
I'm just clapping my little hands,
Yeah.
We all have that in ourselves, I think, and it's fine. It's okay to be happy as well where you are. Of course, if you're happy where you are, great, that's amazing. But for anyone who's like sitting there going, yeah, it's kind of good, but I kind of feel like there's a bit more to life than where I am, and or they should be, isn't, and it's okay to feel like that. And I think that's also another thing. We're kind of sometimes left to feel like it's not okay to want more than what we have.
Yep.
That's a real stigma, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, why aren't you just happy with what you've got? Like, because I want more.
Yeah.
Not more money, but more of life, And I just like, go and get it. Just if you don't know what it is, just try different things and just like get in there. Just dig in, get your hands dirty.
Love it.
So I'm all for that.
Yes, go for it.
And it helps with this. If you're struggling here, that helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it helps. Like, it's just.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think you should become an inspirational speaker at the moment, because everything that you're saying, I don't know whether it's just to me and it's like, yeah, Mel, go get your hands dirty. Or,
this is how I am. This is actually like all my friends. That's why I wanted to become a psychologist. But I don't think I would have been a very good one, because I would have been just like, yeah, you go, like.
Don't worry about your trauma. Just
no, just go, like, just do what you love. Yeah, no, probably not a good idea. So this is probably better. But, a lot, like when my friends, they come to me and they're like, oh, this or that. I'm the one who's like, what about this? Have you looked at it from this side? I am that kind of like, and I've always been like that. So and even that's why these projects, they suit me, because I like talking to people, I like hearing everyone's story, and I like to see if I can add something to it, and if I can put a different or a better direction, or just, just listen as well. So there's nothing better than seeing someone else succeed that you care about, and just seeing someone else going for it, and like, I get happy. It just makes me
like, it absolutely does, because it kind of, look, when I see people that I might be following on Instagram, or some of my friends as well, or mainly my friends, I'm like, yeah, look at what they're doing, fantastic. It kind of gives me inspiration that I can do what I'm doing. So it does. Absolutely perfect. I'm just going to do a quick reminder, guys, that you are listening to Radio Northern Beaches 88.7 and 90.3 FM. You can hear us on the radio station, or you can hear us from rnb.org.au. Guys, this morning I've been talking to Stine. She is a local photographer in DY. So she does a portrait photography, branding. She does, websites. She's recently done the Becoming 30s project. So we've been speaking about this this morning. This was a passion project for her, bringing 25 women together who had been through similar experiences with their mental health and wellness, and, just navigating their path through turning 30 and like living out their 30s. So definitely a project or a magazine definitely worth having in the home, because the next generation of 30s are coming through. So we want to give them a bit of help as well. Stine, I've been loving what you're saying. You're saying that you went through mental health challenges yourself. You found that not to get over it, but to help you with the healing, or to help you with the process, you just had to connect back with something that you love. And that love was photography. But I had a question I was going to ask you, and I think throughout you telling your story, you were saying that, you'd get this insight and you're like, yep, I've got to follow it, yep, I need to change my lifestyle. I need to completely uproot myself from where I'm living and move to, you know, across the bridge kind of
Yeah,
thing. So,
I don't recommend that to anyone. Just please
oh,
don't
really?
do that. Because that can be quite devastating for the people around you. So yeah, don't do anything that big.
Yeah.
But,
That's what I've done.
yeah. Well,
But in time, I'll
yeah.
find out whether it's been worthwhile or not. But but I kind of want to talk to you about that because, you know, some guests that I have on, they, you know, we've spoken about intuition and what it's them like for them. So obviously you've been using your intuition as well. So what's it like receiving that message? Yep, I've just got to uproot myself and change cities. Like, how does that kind of message come through for you?
For me, it wasn't like a message saying, quit your job and your house or your flat and move like to the other side of the city or whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't that was like the result of how I felt at the time. But I knew that I had to change something in my life to get to where I needed to be. I didn't know what that was. I just knew that how I was living wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
And I knew that I would either turn into something that I would absolutely hate and wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror every day.
Yeah.
Or I would hurt someone, not physically,
Yeah.
but, you know, hurt people. So that was that. And I didn't like that. And I was just going down a path that was super self-destructive and starting to be destructive to the people around me as well.
Yeah.
And I was not okay with that. I looked amazing. I was about 20 kilos lighter. I looked amazing. I did a little bit of modeling. Like from the outside, everything looked amazing.
Yeah.
But on the inside, it was chaos, absolute chaos. So I guess I couldn't look at myself in the mirror already. I was like, I don't like how I'm treating other people. I don't like how I'm treating myself. Like, why am I doing this? Why do I react the way I do to things? And I felt out of control. And that was a big thing as well. I like to think that I have a little bit of control over my life and what happens and where I go. And I'd like to have, how can you set goals if you have no control over your life?
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to get there? You know, how are you going to get what you want in life if you have no control over yourself, how you react, how you treat other people? You can't. So I was like, something's not right here. I got to fix that. So it wasn't like move house, quit my job, blah, blah, do all these big things. It was more like I have to just in my mind as well. And I think the easiest way to do that, because it's really hard to change your mindset, you know, that takes time and hard work. So the easiest thing to do at that moment was to do all the exterior physical things like moving house, quitting my job, like those things that have a big impact immediately. So I think that's something that I realized later. That's not something I realized then. I acted on impulses, and that's why I don't recommend anyone doing that, because it can work out great and it can work out not so great for you as well. So depending who you are. So so that's why I did what I did. It was the easiest thing to do at the time. So that's the answer to that, I guess.
Well, it's showing that in a way that, you know, you just have to follow your gut instincts. Like you have to kind of have, like what you were saying. And I want to ask this question because what you were saying, you didn't like who you were, how you were treating people. You didn't like where you were at in life. You didn't even like looking back in the mirror about yourself. So how do you kind of, and the biggest thing that you said is, how do I have control or achieve my goals if I don't have control? So what do you mean by having control of your life? Like, because people think control, I've got to control every like little bit, you know, this detail, but what do you mean by having control of your life?
Yeah, good question. By that, I basically mean having control over your own feelings and your own emotions. because without that, you're just kind of like all over the place all the time. You know, I don't, there's probably a saying, but I can't remember it, but it's like, you can't, you know, how does it go? I'm really bad at these things. Hang on. But how you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't.
Okay.
So it's those things that when I talk about control, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't be controlling every aspect of your life, you know, obviously. You know, because you can't do that either. Like, that's just exhausting, and no one wants to be a control freak.
Yeah.
But you got to learn how to internally, you can react to things and you can get emotional and things like that when things don't go your way or something, or you're hurt or whatever. But if you let that eat away at you for too long, it becomes who you are, and it becomes your default. And that's the problem. That was the problem for me. I didn't know any other way. Like, if someone hurt me, whatever way, it could be, I was at a state where anything would hurt me. Like, not picking up the phone when I called, or send you a text message and you didn't like text me back quick enough. Oh, I was off, you know.
Wow.
Down to the bottle shop and buying a bottle of vodka. Like, you know.
Yeah. Crazy.
No, it's like, you know, life is not all about that. Like, it's, no, that's not okay. Like, it's just to be like, now if someone don't text me back, it's like, oh, they're probably busy, they have a life too, I'll just go and do something else. Big deal, you know. Like, it's just, that's what I mean about control. Like, not having, I guess also like not connecting to, like, oh, it's so hard to explain because it's so deep and it's so complicated, but it's kind of like, and it's really hard to explain because our minds are just, we don't know half of it, right? So but when
as much as we try to think to know it, we never will.
We don't. But all I know is, like, I could not get out of myself. I was in my head. I was living in my head. And when you do that, you become very selfish. In a way, not so it's all about me. It's more like, it's not a direct way. It's more like you think that everything that happens to you is because of you. In a bad way, not in a good way. So everything that other people would do or say or whatever, you know, they buy a new car, or they did that to, like, you know, I'm never going to get a new car. Like, it's like, that's not the right thought. Like, it's just, it was just altogether the wrong trains of thoughts. That's not what it's called, but
but it is.
It's just the wrong track, man. You're on the wrong track. The way everything is working inside is on the wrong track. And I really, really wanted to change that, because how am I going to get the business that I wanted when I found out that I wanted to get back into photography and I actually wanted to make a living out of it? And potentially, I'd like to have a family. I'd like to have a house one day. I'd just be able to go on holiday when I wanted and have some nice, you know, have a great group of friends and just have a great life and be happy. How am I going to be happy when everything in your mind is a reflection of you? It's impossible. You can't. It just doesn't work like that. So it's you know, mental health is so many things and everyone is different, but depression is basically, for me as well, and probably for, like, I think it's a part of the definition of depression is actually that you are inside of your head so much that you can't connect with the outside world. It's impossible, because everything is just inside. Like, it's I don't know how to explain it otherwise, but it's like, and if your depression is connected with PTSD in any shape or form, anyone with emotional PTSD will tell you that that's a living hell, because everything hurts 1,000 times more. So is someone I was in a relationship at that point as well for a short time.
Yeah.
And that was just, that was like jumping from landmine to landmine.
Oh, wow.
That was like an explosion. That and it was little things, little tiny things. Like it's hell.
Yeah.
You can't live like that. No one can live like that.
No.
Mm.
And I think you're right in saying with depression and, you know, the emotional trauma, like no one can live with feeling like they're doing wrong all the time. It's just, it's not the right train of thought. But even with my depression as well, you know, similar story, that the more I was in my head, inside my head, the more I isolated myself, the more depressed I got. So the only way to help move out of it was that I had to actually just physically go out and do something, or physically, you know, interact with someone so that I could stop thinking about what was inside my head.
Yeah.
And I know with myself, it took a lot of training. Like every day I was like repeating affirmations, repeating, you know, thoughts. I was going to do the healings and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was so diligent with what I was doing so that I could think that new train of thought. Did diligence, or, you know, was it hard for you to change that train of thought that you were on, that destructive, if I can call it destructive?
Yeah, you can call it that, because that's what it was. Let's call it what it is. Yes, it was.
Was it hard to change?
Yes, but it's like it took a few years to kind of like, you know, it's a weird thing because it never really ends, does it? But it gets easier, okay? It gets easier, and you learn eventually. Well, hopefully you learn to manage it, and you know you get to know yourself really, really well after a lot of work. And I think like what I had to realize, and I realized after just doing a lot of online watching of videos and learning and just listening to keynotes by, you know, motivational speakers as well, because they actually a lot of times speak about mental health. So and I learned that that I really just sorry, what was your question?
All good. It was about changing the train of
Oh
thought.
yeah, sorry. I had the answer even before you ended that. Rewiring my brain.
Yes.
Basically. I learned about something, there's probably a technical term for it. I'm not a technical person, so I'm gonna not, I'm not gonna say that, but because I don't know the word. But basically it's rewiring your brain and rewiring how you connect to other things, people, whatever, the world around you, and how you react to people, situations, feelings, triggers, things like that. So, you know, I had to learn all about self-development and how to, you know, habits are a massive part of it as well. Human behavior. Like I just dove into that world, and I just try to absorb as much as possible about it. So, and you know, in a strange way, photography helped me to do that. Because it helped me get out of my own head, out of my own mind. And it helped me to reconnect to people in a different way to what I had before on a creative level, which I'd never really done. And so slowly I started rewiring my brain, basically. So now I don't have the same impulses. I don't have the same strong feelings, strong emotions emotional reactions to things that I shouldn't like. I shouldn't have those feelings around it. I don't have that anymore, which is, you know, that's quite amazing. So that's a feat in itself, but it's basically rewiring your brain.
And it absolutely is, and the best way to describe it, because the way the brain works is all those pathways, all those connections.
Well, that's it. And the way that PTSD is created is basically you've either experienced something really massive to you that has rewired every cell in your body, including your brain.
Yeah.
Or it's happened over time slowly.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. It wasn't one thing. It was over years, slowly, little by little. You know, and it's just completely rewired everything in my brain. That's how you lose like touch with, not really reality, but like you lose, you know, the connection with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's how people end up lost. So I figured that out, and I was like, well, that means I have to rewire my brain. Like I have to put pieces back together so I become the person that I'm meant to be, or who I actually am inside. Still there, but like, where is it, you know?
Yeah.
So, and depression was not, that was like a symptom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not the actual illness.
No,
it never is. And I want people to know this. You don't just have depression and go and get some pills for it. And I know it's very controversial, but that is not the cure.
Yeah. No.
Unless you have like clinical schizophrenia or something like that. Yes, of course. But, you know, for something like depression, there's other ways to cope with that. So, and I really want to, I'm all for natural, and I really want to bring awareness to that as well. So there are ways to get out of that sort of, you know, destructive thinking and way of life.
Well, it wasn't until with my, and, you know, thank you for saying that. You know, it might seem controversial, but in a way it's so true, because, you know, even with my own experience with depression, like I did the medication, I did psychology, you know, I did psychiatry, and it was what I needed for then, but it didn't fix me. It didn't, you know, make me feel it made me feel a little bit better from when I first started. So there was a bit of progress, but it wasn't until I did the actual self-development work that I started noticing difference. You know, that unpicking of everything that, you know,
that's right.
All the reactions that you're saying, you know, you know, how do I describe it? It's, you know, your out of control reactions kind of thing. So it was the unpicking of that was where I found the most progress as well. So I'm with you. I am all for natural therapies to help someone with their mental health. But if they need medication, fantastic. If that's a journey that you want to take, fantastic. But there will be a point.
I think it's
go on.
I think it's a good place to start. If it's like you've just been diagnosed or just figured out that something's wrong, it's a good place to just take the edge off. Just so you can get up every day and do what you need to do. But it should never ever be left as like the final destination, because it's not. And I see people, oh my God, I know people who been on medication for like 20 years. I kid you not.
Wow.
And it's destroyed their life completely, because they've never learned how to think differently. They've never had the opportunity to self-discover and rewire their train of like how they think, and they still on the drugs, and they take so many now that I've experienced firsthand what happens when they come off them.
Wow.
Because they've run out and there's no way to get any more right now. I've seen what happens over a period of 24 hours, and it's not pretty.
No.
It's really not pretty. And I don't think a lot of people talk about this. Like it's a start. It's a beginning point. It's like a little step ladder, you know, it's like a ladder. That's the first step for some people, for most people. But then comes the work. Then you gotta, because like I said, it's a symptom. It's not an actual, it's an illness. Yes. But it's not it's a symptom of an illness as well. Do you know what I mean? So
well, in kinesiology terms, it's not the root cause of what the depression is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not. So it means that something else is going on. And, you know, yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about the medical industry.
Yeah,
that's a minefield. Let's not go there. I have some strong opinions. I am a very opinionated person, but I'll leave that one.
We'll leave it for another show because we're just about out of time.
Yeah. Okay.
And and I want to thank you for being here with me. Like, you've been absolutely amazing. And
thank you for having me.
Absolutely wonderful, because, you know, depression and anxiety is something that not everyone, but most people might be experiencing right now. And I want to ask you a question before we leave around it.
Sure.
So, like, everything that you've been saying, you know, the Becoming 30s project, it was absolutely amazing. You know, it helped highlighted how much of expectation that was out there for us as women, but really we were struggling because we weren't meeting those expectations. So we actually redefined our own expectations, which was a really good outcome in seeing in the project. And I loved how you spoke about your own personal story. So thank you so much for sharing that, and spoke about your depression. You know, I've had similar experiences, and no doubt other people have had similar experiences as well. The question I want to ask you before we wrap up the show is, during this time of isolation or this time of COVID, like, I know my depression has come a little bit more than what it usually does. So how are you been managing yourself during this time?
Yeah, it rears its ugly head, doesn't it? When it comes out when things changes in your life quite abruptly. It's like, oh, there it is. Yeah. No, I felt it too. Yeah. I mean, I have a little one to distract me most days, so I don't get to delve into it, which is, you know what, as busy as you are as a new mom or whatever, it's a distraction.
Oh, good.
And then, you know, I've also made sure, you know, I've had bad days just like everyone else has who struggles with mental illness. But what I am now capable of doing is acknowledge it and embrace it and say, I'm having a really, really bad day. And that's okay. I know this is not who I am anymore. I'm not defined by it. It's still part of me. And just the fact that you can actually embrace and just say, oh, what's going on today? I'm all over the place. I'm like, oh, that's right. I know what's going on. And it's okay. Okay, what do I need to do? Do I need to sit on the couch all day and watch Netflix? Yes, I do. Okay, do it. Go do it. And don't feel bad about it, okay? And then also when I can, I go for long walks. That has been really good. I used to be a keen runner. But because of some health things with my back now and my hips, I can't run. But I go for long walks, like an hour and a half. And it just clears my head. I listen to music. I listen to podcasts, anything to fill my soul. To me, what makes me feel better is to fill my soul with learning new things or hearing stories or, you know, anything to fill my cup, basically. Because I find that when I get those down days, it's usually because I haven't filled my cup with the things I need to. And that's different for everyone. I understand that. So, but I fill my cup. I go for long walks. I watch a movie. I love movies. So I do that. I try to work on you know, if I miss editing, I bring up some old photos. I redo them, you know, just to get into it and lose myself a little bit. I try to do all those things that I did when I try to heal myself. I try to tap into that, and I can't go shoot now, and that's really hard for me not to do, because that is my therapy. My job is my therapy. So
love it.
So it's really hard, but I try to just be mindful that this is not forever. And everyone, please know, this is not forever. You're gonna go back to what you were doing before if you're not already doing it, or in a slightly different way, but that's okay. You know, we'll get through this. Like, it's, you know, I'm 100% positive that we will. So, but tap into what you were doing before in any way you can, and it'll fill up your cup.
Love it. So guys out there, fill up your cups, do stuff that you love. And I think that's the main message for you. You say, get back to yourself, get to knowing yourself. Do things that you love to really help fill up your cup. So So guys, I feel like I need to have another show with you, Stine, because we could just talk about this forever.
We've got a lot to talk about, I think. Yeah.
And not realizing it either. We just said, oh yeah, we'll just talk about these few points.
Yeah,
and
got a lot to say.
yeah, so absolutely love it. Thank you so much for being here with me.
No
I really
worries.
do appreciate it. I am going to put your details of how people can connect with you on the Facebook page. So guys, look out for that post. But guys, you've been listening to Radio Northern Beaches 88.7 and 90.3 FM. My name's Melissa. I do the Hummingbird Talks every week where we talk about spirituality, health and wellness. So tune in next week. I'll have a different guest and a different topic we're going to be talking about. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.